Let's just sew whatever. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be making the H2O to go sling by Linds Handmade. I am the literal last person on earth to make this bag, but I'm so excited I finally did. I absolutely loved making it. This is my second time. I used TherxTex exterior fabric. This is such a cute print from Fabric Therapy, and a little bit of Sew Fuse Plus just as the bottom stiffener, and that is it. I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe. I am making one for me so that I can play Pokemon Go hands-free and still have my water. And I'm making one for my husband for the same reason, and one for my best friend for the same reason, but we're also going to take them to Disney. I'm not sure if we'll use them as much as I think we might at Disney, but anyway, we're gonna get started. The hardware for this bag is so minimal. I love that. You just need two 1-inch D-rings or triangle rings, two 1.5-inch snap hooks, and then one 1.5-inch slide adjuster. I have cut webbing for my strap. I'm using water-resistant canvas from my website for the lining, and I'm using TherxTex from Fabric Therapy for the exterior. I decided to not interface this. The best way to describe it is it feels like a really nice raincoat with a knit backing. It does not have stretch though, which is awesome. So I mean, there's bias stretch, but I really don't feel like I need to interface this. But if I was going to, I would probably use the TherxTex non-fusible interfacing. It's like a stick-on. It's so cool. I have not used it yet, but I think that would pair nicely with this. But I just want it to be super lightweight. This is a waterproof fabric, and then I'm lining it with water-resistant fabric, so we should be good to go. Let's dive in. I'm gonna iron my 14-inch piece of zipper. All right. So to start, I need my slip pocket, my back front flap piece, and my front flap piece. I am attaching two zipper pulls. I just like the idea of having the zipper pull accessible on either side. This does make it a little harder to sew around that curve though, so just keep that in mind. I think that'll be even. Try again. Cut my zipper straight across the top because right now it's very uneven, so that's making lining it up perfectly a little bit harder. There we go. Much better. There we go. There we go. Come on. Voila. And the pattern calls for a 14-inch piece of zipper, but I felt like mine last time ended up just a little bit short. So I'm gonna cut it to 15 inches. And I'm gonna iron this just one more time, because you can see it's still got some wonkiness. Using steam will really help iron all of that out as well. All right, so I've got 4 zipper tabs here. Again, I did not interface any of these tabs. Anything that's this TherxTex, I was like, nah, it doesn't need it. All right, so I kind of want to line these up in just a way because the print is so fun. So I'm gonna lay those right sides together over the zipper teeth, and then I'll add the lining right sides together. So the wrong sides are facing out, they're hugging the zipper tape. And then I like to clip it from the sides so that I don't have to move them as I'm sewing. And it is a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Make sure those layers are sitting together nicely. And then we're gonna open this up and top stitch. If you need to, you can iron these layers, but I'm just gonna open it up, pull them apart, pull on that seam so those layers are perfectly separated. There's no weird gap or bunching. And you are sewing 1/8 of an inch from that folded edge. Trimming down all of my threads like that. And then we're going to line up the zipper tabs with each other so that we can find the center of our zipper. So I'm lining those up, folding this on itself, and you want to make just the gentlest of snips at the center of the zipper. And if you would rather mark that out, I totally understand. So I'm going to set that aside for now. I'm just going to top stitch my slip pocket. And I would recommend not using waterproof canvas from like FWD Fabrics for this. I would use a lighter weight if you can. The water resistant canvas I offer from my website, you can see it does fray. It's not fray proof, and it can be hard to tell the right and the wrong side, but if you just kind of scratch it a little bit with your finger, you'll be able to see the white marks. So that is the wrong side. The right side has a little bit of shininess to it, and the wrong side is dull. Pasting that pocket into place. Trimming the excess. And I'm going to fold this in half to find the top center and the bottom center. Okay. Set that aside. Work on the front panel, folding this in half, finding the top center, the bottom center. I want to add a label, but I'm not sure what color would be best. I like the pink one with it, but it doesn't quite match super well. These leather ones are super fun. Let's see, I've got this metallic purple. That blue is pretty. And all of these labels are from the Heartwood and Hide. These are hand colored and then laser etched. They're so unbelievably gorgeous. And then I have some that are printed. Oh, here we go, here we go. These are the ones I was looking for. I think I'm gonna go with this black rainbow gradient. I have so many of these labels, it's ridiculous. I'm always like, Jade, more, please, thank you. Yeah, this will match, but also really pop. So I like that. I like it. So I'm gonna tape this down and stitch it in place before I go anywhere else with this. I always find using double-sided tape helps me, you know, just keep it lined up. Just kind of eyeballing where I'm gonna place it. It's like 1.25 inches from each side. Yep. My stitch length is set to about 4. I'll just start placing that down. Jade and I are working on something fun together. I'm really excited to see if it works out. Okay, I'm pulling my threads to the back so that you don't see them on the front there. And now we'll add our top zipper. Still working on this beautiful roll of double-sided tape. So I am going to tape my zipper into place. I like to use 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape for this part because that is well within your seam allowance. So there's no chance of seeing it when you turn the bag or anything like that. Well, I guess there's always a chance, but just use the right seam allowance, you'll be fine. I have seen there are a ton of different tack videos for this bag. I mean, there's tons of videos for this bag anyway, but figured I can make it too. I had mentioned to Linds that this seemed like a really good bag if you're breastfeeding, because I always felt like I needed my chapstick with me, and I needed a water so I could stay hydrated, and a little balm for your body after going through all that rough stuff. So I thought this was a really cool idea. I never got a chance to make it though, but I wish I had, because I think it would have been really nice to have. Okay, lining it up with the center and then those bottom edges. And then we'll work the curves out from there. You want your zipper face down on that exterior panel. And then if need be, you can make little snips in your zipper tape to help it lay flat. You just want to be careful not to go too far because you don't want this to fray over time or anything like that. Okay. And those little snips just help it go around that curve all the better. So now I'm gonna base this in place, and then we'll add the lining side of this front pocket. So this front pocket really takes the longest. If you wanted to make a whole bunch of these, obviously there's those hack videos out there, but you could even just cut an exterior and cut a lining and not worry about this pocket, really. So as I'm basting into place, I'm pushing my zipper tape out of the way. And then I'll grab the lining and sandwich that over top, finding those center lines. And you can double-sided tape this layer into place as well if you want. I don't think it's that serious. And if you need to, you can unzip your zipper. It might help your layers sit a little bit better. And I'm going to be sewing with the exterior fabric face up so that I can see where I've already basted. And you want to make sure that you're pushing your zipper teeth out of the way. You don't want to accidentally sew through it. That would be very bad. So I'm just going to go nice and slow, starting at one side. I am bringing my seam allowance in. I basted at about 1/8 of an inch, and now I'm sewing it all together at like 1/4 of an inch. And I'm pressing my finger along that seam so that I can know what layers I'm sewing through. You want to make sure you can't feel your zipper tape. I should say, make sure you can feel that it's not in your seam allowance. The teeth anyway. You want the tape in there, but not the teeth. All right, so it's getting a little bunchy. So what I'm gonna do is unzip one side. Leave your needle in and unzip. So what that does is it's reducing the amount of bulk you're fighting with, because it's only one side of the zipper instead of both sides pushing against the seam. Okay, make sure you lay everything back down and into place, and we can carry on. Pressing everything back down and into place. And then we will flip this through to top stitch. Pull on that zipper tape if you can fit your hand in there to open it up even more. Good. So we're gonna open this up, iron it down if you need to, massage that curve so that all of those layers have separated in the right way. Pull on the bottom. I'm actually gonna start by basting the bottom. And then I'm going to start top stitching this curve. And as I'm doing this, I'm separating those layers. I'm pulling them apart. So I'm pulling on my zipper and pulling on the exterior fabric, which makes this nice seam. Because you want to top stitch through that bulk so that all those layers sit nicely and your top stitching looks pretty. And I'm just going about 1/8 of an inch from that edge next to the zipper tape. So there is your little slip pocket and front pocket. I'm gonna go ahead and really quick just add this to the exterior, and then we'll move on to the lining of this. So I'm snipping my centers with that curve. And this is another area you can use that double-sided tape. If you find you have trouble getting everything to stay because of the tape, like it keeps getting stuck to itself, you could just do smaller sections of double-sided tape so that you don't have large chunks of double-sided tape sticking to everything. So that might help. So this is going to start like this. You're doing the opposite direction. Make sure you find that center snip or center marking. We're gonna clip that into place and then line up the bottom edge and clip that into place too. And then we're going to stay stitch all of this into place. I think Lynn says she uses like 1/4 of an inch seam allowance for this part, but I'm just gonna use 1/8 of an inch, and then I'll come in with the rest later. Show yourself stuck in my head. Kind of moving my zipper pulls out of the way as I sew all of this into place. So that is basted, and then you can see what it's starting to look like. It's so cute. I think my zipper is a little long, and that's why there is that little bit of bunching, but sometimes I just don't feel like zipper tapes are forgiving enough on those curves. So I think it looks good. Oh, I love it. Okay, gotta keep going. So we need our card slot back piece, card slot side accents, and the card slot piece. So I kind of fudged this a little bit when I made it last night. I measured my 6 inches. This becomes the back of the card slot. So this fold is pretty permanent. Lining up the side edges, making a crease. So this becomes the back. And then everything else is the card slot. And because I didn't feel like measuring everything out, I did the 6 inch and the 1 inch. And then I think the other one's like 5.5 or 4.5. Anyway, I just kind of did like Nicole Neal's method of using a template to fold everything kind of up to. So I'm gonna top stitch my 6 inch line. Now, if you do all of the measuring at your cutting table and just come to your machine with everything ready to go, you don't need to do this. This is just like the lazy method, I guess. So I'm folding the card slot up on the card to meet that 1 inch line and folding it back down so that all my layers sit nicely and my card just kind of peeks over the top. So I'm going to crease that and top stitch it. And we'll bring that up to that 1 inch line, and I'm going to clip that into place. And then if you need to, you can keep a card in that so you can see how high up it is. And then I'm just going to repeat that. I'll lay a card down, fold this up along the card, crease, and bring it down about where I want it to be. And crease and top stitch. And clip that into place. And double check it. Looks good. Okay, next one. And I always like to keep gift cards for this exact reason, so that you can make a whole bunch as you go. So folding up, creasing, and then fold it down. Where you want it to go. Crease and top stitch. And there are instructions included on how to just add like a slip pocket as well. right, and then the last one, you want to fold the bottom edge up to meet all of that. Or if you have all the card slots you'd want, you could just trim off the excess. Like let's say I just want to add 3 card slots, you can just trim off the excess. All right, now this gets laid over top the lining pocket piece. Clip that in place. And then we'll lay the accent pieces over top. These get sewn down at 1/4 inch seam allowance. And if you want to add a woven label, this would be a good time. I think I'll do this one that says "You Matter." Fold this open and top stitch. Oh my God, get out of here. Almost perfectly lined up. I didn't even try. Almost, not quite. Too funny. And then we're going to use the template piece provided in the pattern. To trace this out. All right, and then we'll add this to the back side of that pocket. My friend Alex has a video on their channel showing how to add some width to the gusset and then how to finish off the bag with binding. I'm also going to be finishing off the bag with binding. I think it'll make it easier to turn. Well, I don't think, I know it will. I made one last night for myself. Turned out really good. I mean, it turned out okay. I was kind of speeding through it just to make mine. But like it's holding a water bottle, so I'm not super worried about how perfect it is as long as it holds a water bottle. Okay, so then I'm gonna sew it together this way so that I can see where I've already basted the layers into place, and I can kind of fold everything out of the way and press it down. Again, just make sure that your zipper tape is out of the way. If you need to unzip it, that'll help, because then you're not, again, fighting 2 layers of zipper. It's just the one. That can go out of the way, that kind of thing, and then you can kind of pull all your layers back together. Move the zipper teeth out of the way. There are no pockets on the lining of the bag, so the lining is really just one seam, really quickly finished off. But you could add a slip pocket, honestly, if you feel like you would need it. All right, that is added. Here's what it's looking like. So now we will top stitch through, pushing this seam out. So this seam should be laying flat so that we can top stitch through it. And then I'm going to baste that front pocket all together. So this front pocket down here at the bottom is really the bulkiest place there is. So if you have a domestic and you're using interfacing in your zipper tabs, that's one place that you could omit it to help save some bulk. But this is what this is looking like. Oh, it's so cute. All right, so then you're going to fold this in half. Use a 3/8 inch seam allowance along that back panel. And then if you want to top stitch that open, you totally can. Definitely not necessary. Look, come on. There we go. Then I'm gonna grab my lining. That is my wrong side. So I'm gonna lay right sides together. Baste along the bottom, or the side, I'm so sorry. Sew that side together. I've got the base stabilized with SoFuse Plus. I've got my water resistant canvas and my exterior, so I'm gonna baste all of those layers together. I'm going to trim this down. I just didn't want to worry about cutting 2 pieces for the lining. So I've just kind of used a scrap for the base. And then a little cutting trick, I should have mentioned this earlier, is the exterior piece, the center of it that you cut away is not the center that you add. So that center that you cut away, you can get your D-ring connectors, you can get your zipper tabs, and I think that's it, but you could possibly cut your base out of that section too. So don't throw that away. It's definitely not, it's still a very usable piece of material. All right, so this is my D-ring connector. So I'm going to fold this in half. D-ring, triangle ring, whatever you would like to call it. If you would like to make sure this is reinforced, you can add a piece of webbing in between the layers or a scrap of waterproof canvas. I trust this material. I don't see how it could tear, honestly. But I can't say for sure. I've never used it, but we're gonna find out, I guess. So thread your triangle rings through. And then we'll grab the exterior of the bag and you'll line these up at the top edge, kind of centered, and I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch within the seam allowance. Okay. So our exterior is ready to go, our lining's ready to go. I'm gonna finish my strap. I know I should just put it all together, but I really just want the last thing I do to be putting on the strap. So I've got this chunk of woven webbing. So it does tend to fray. I mean, it doesn't tend to, it definitely does, because it's just fibers woven together. So I'm cutting it nice and even, and I've cut 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch scraps of vinyl. So I'm gonna take a little bit on each end and sew that into place. This is going to hopefully prevent it from doing any further fraying. This is a trick from Linds Handmade, but I also saw Georgia Girls Stitches do something very similar with leather on her straps, and I was like, oh, I love that. So I literally just went into my scrap bin to find these pieces. And I'm also going to be riveting my strap. I'm not going to sew it. And with this woven, the rivets could eventually find their way out of those layers. So just want to be very careful. If you are going to be putting the backpack strap into a seam, any strap into the seam, I would still recommend doing this, maybe with a thinner vinyl or a thinner waterproof canvas, just to help prevent fraying over time and coming loose from the seam. And it's just kind of a fun way to make the strap super unique to the bag. So I'm gonna fold this over the slider, and I'm gonna rivet this into place. I'm gonna use 2 rivets. And we'll do that same thing to the other end. Set that through. Fold that up and over. So there is what that will end up looking like. And then I'll just add 4 rivets to those sections. I also recommend with this woven webbing not to cut through the fibers. So I'm going to use my hole punch to punch through the vinyl piece. There we go. And then insert, stop it. Ben. We'll fold this down, and you can actually kind of massage the rivet through those woven layers. And then you're not cutting through them, possibly weakening the strap. And then we can go ahead and set these. All right, we are now ready to put the interior into the exterior. So I'm gonna pull this so that it's right sides out. We're gonna line up that back seam. And lining up the top connector bits of the bag as well. I'm just gonna sew along the top edge of all of that after I coerce my cat to lay down. Okay. I like to start at the top. And you're gonna sew using, I'm using like a 3/8 inch seam allowance. It's really not much. And it's not going to make a huge difference in the outcome of the bag what seam allowance you use on this top part, so long as it's enough to catch your strap connectors and keep them secure. While also avoiding your hardware, of course, in that section. Finish on the strap connector, and then the only trimming I'm really going to do is at those corners. to reduce bulk. If you used thicker materials, you will probably want to use pinking shears along that top edge so that you've got a nice looking curve. But we'll go ahead and turn this. So like I said, we're adding binding to the bottom edge. So it's really easy to turn. I'm just pulling on my triangle connectors and pushing the lining into the bag. And I'm not gonna iron it or anything like that. Just gonna roll over that top seam. I really like this TherxTex fabric. I don't know that I would use it for a lot of bag exteriors myself. It feels very much like a sport bag or kind of like a diaper bag in a way, but I don't know that that's I do know that that's not a bad thing. It's just not like, I wouldn't use it as like a really fancy bag exterior, maybe like travel bag, etc. But I've really enjoyed working with it, and my machine does not mind it being uninterfaced or anything like that. So we'll definitely use again. We'll absolutely purchase again, but I don't know that it would be like my every bag reach for. It would be really nice for a makeup bag lining or like a toiletry bag, train case situation, a gym bag, travel bag. I did see the Crafty Reporter, I believe, used it in a Mayfield backpack, and it looked really good as the lining for that. So I would have to try it as a lining to see. Oh my gosh, so close. Once again, so close. Hilarious. Okay, so I'm going to top stitch around the top, and then I'm going to stay stitch around the bottom. I don't really I say these words, top stitch, stay stitch, base, but in the end, I'm really just sewing it. So I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know. I have my stitch length set to 4.5. I'm just following around the top edge. For the other one that I made for myself, I used a thinner woven fabric. I don't remember where it's from. Could be, I don't know. But it was pretty thin, so I used like a thicker interfacing. And this bag really doesn't need a ton of structure. It just needs to be strong and waterproof, you know? I wanted to use the TherxTex fabric for the lining, but this print is way too pretty for that. So it is the exterior. All of that basted together. And then we're gonna flip this. Hold on, I really just want to admire it really quick. No, I'll wait till the end. That's fine, I'll wait. Fold this in half to find the centers. Make those snips. And line that up with the back center and the front center. Which I know I have snipped it somewhere. There it is. Yeah? Yeah. So again, that front pocket is where most of the bulk is. I believe there is a trick somewhere out in the world to reduce bulk in that area with those card slats. Like maybe you could do wrong sides together to create a finished bottom seam and then sew it higher up within that back panel, within that lining panel, I should say. You can use double-sided tape to help hold the bottom in place. There's that. And then I'm going to sew around the curve. As you're doing that, just make sure that all those layers stay lined up with each other and that you're sewing in past your basting stitches. Grab a scrap of waterproof canvas that is big enough to go around the bottom. I've added double-sided tape to it. I'm just gonna start somewhere and clip it around the bottom edge. Unpeeling the tape as I go. Covering over, folding that edge down. Okay, then we're going to sew that in place and just flip it out. was at just the right time. Okay, that is attached. And you're just gonna push it so that the exterior is right side out. There it is, all completed. My front zipper is definitely a little too long, but the last time I did it at the exact size, I had to trim off a little bit, but it doesn't interfere with the bag. You can just see that the zipper tape is a little tall. But there is the inside. We've got our slip pocket. We've got a long slip pocket here and then a few card slots. And then on the inside, it's just a big open spot. Now, if you want to, you can add a rivet through your connectors. Just attach that strap. So cute. Such a fun little project. Hate that it took me so long to make, but here we are. I hope you enjoyed making the H2O to go with me. If you've already made this, feel free to comment below with some of your favorite hacks or tips and tricks, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.